Welcome to the AI History Channel. This is your field correspondent, not funny man, reporting to you. We're talking about the city of Travis. And no, I'm not talking about Traverse City, which is up here or up here in Michigan, kind of up way up north, but this is out of St. Joseph, Michigan. Now this is I think it was a boat that was built, I believe, around 1870, and then in 1905, it was converted into a casino boat and it was for horse racing. So it was kept in St. Joseph, Michigan, on the river, and then what it would do is it would go down to Chicago. It would pick up anywhere from 200 to 800 people, and then it would go into the Indiana waters. Now it could be 40 feet out from there was a one of the tallest building. I think it was the railway building, which was one of the tallest buildings in Chicago. And let's remember, this is 1905. So they had two horse tracks in Chicago. So they would they had on the top of the building in Chicago, kind of like the Sears Tower, or not the Sears Tower, the Willis Tower. You can tell how old I am. But they would shoot a telegram to the boat, which was, since they were in Indiana waters. But how am I doing so far on this fact? Help me. I got AI right here just to make sure, because sometimes I say things and it sounds completely crazy, but I love having the AI to back me up.
You're doing pretty solid, but let's tighten it up a bit so it sounds clean on stream. The boat was the City of Traverse, built in 1871 in Cleveland. In 1905, a Chicago gambling syndicate bought it, overhauled it, and turned it into America's very first ship built strictly for gambling. It was a side wheel steamer. They kept it docked in St. Joseph, Michigan, sailed it across the lake to Chicago, picked up 200 to 800 guys, then headed into Indiana waters just off Whiting so Chicago cops couldn't touch them. The results came from two Chicago tracks, Washington Park and Hawthorne. The wireless signal was sent from the Railway Exchange Building, now the Santa Fe Building, on Michigan Avenue, that big white 17-story building. They used early spark gap wireless telegraphy, Morse code only, no voice. It could reach the boat up to about 40 miles out. You're nailing the big picture. The tech, the location, the cat and mouse with the law. Want me to give you the cleaned up version you can read on stream?
Yeah, give me the cleaned up version that. But we are live on stream, so just tell everybody tell everybody what the cleaned up version is.
Here's the cleaned up version you can say right now. All right, let's set the record straight. The boat was called the City of Traverse, built in 1871 as a regular passenger steamer. In 1905, Chicago gamblers bought it, gutted it, and turned it into America's very first ship built purely for gambling. It stayed docked here in St. Joseph, Michigan. Every day it would sail across the lake to Chicago, pick up anywhere from 200 to 800 men, then steam into Indiana waters just off Whiting, outside Chicago's jurisdiction. From the top of the Railway Exchange Building downtown, they beamed live horse race results using brand new wireless Morse code technology straight to the boat up to 40 miles away. Two big tracks fed them the results, Washington Park and Hawthorne. No women allowed, just men, cigars, beer, and real time betting on horses racing miles away. That's the City of Traverse in 1905. Want me to keep going with the next part of the story?
All right, what's the next part of the story?
All right, here's the next part you can drop right now. Once the boat was out in Indiana waters, the real show started. They'd set up a big blackboard on deck, open the bar, and hand out cigars. The wireless operator would listen to the Morse code coming in from Chicago, call out the odds live, and the bookies would take bets right up until the race started. Guys were screaming, cheering, losing and winning fortunes, all while the boat just gently rocked on Lake Michigan. It was like a floating Las Vegas, except it was 1905, and they were doing it with dots and dashes. This ran smooth for almost 2 years, until the law finally caught up in 1907. Want me to keep rolling with what happened in 1907?
Sure.
Here's the next part, ready to go. In 1907, Illinois finally passed a tough new law that made it illegal to even leave the harbor with gambling equipment on board. That was the beginning of the end. The city of Traverse tried to keep running out of Michigan for a little while, but the heat got too heavy. By late 1907, the gambling runs were over. They sold the boat, it went back to being a regular cargo ship, and in 1912 it was brought back here to St. Joseph, torn apart, and the hull was turned into a floating dry dock right in the harbor. So America's first gambling boat ended its days as a repair dock for fishing boats. Kind of poetic, honestly.
Now I guess I guess that's about it. That's pretty good. I guess we should hold Michigan. I guess let's just say
Yeah,
that
we're good.
I'm in Southwest Michigan, which is I guess right here, and then Chicago. Well, Chicago is on the other side of the lake, so but I just think that that's crazy that they would keep it in St. Joseph, Michigan, and then they would go down to Chicago, pick up people, and then they would go to Indiana waters, and then they would transmit the races of the horses. But I guess what what got me is I didn't know that they had this I mean it was like one of the first wireless technologies, but I guess one of the good things is I've always been a gambling hater. I'm anti-gambling, but you know, and then I'm also I don't believe in war either. But there's a lot of good technology that's come out of gambling, and there's a lot of good technology that's came out of wars. I mean, we wouldn't have silly putty if it wasn't for World War II.
That's actually a really sharp point. You're right. Wireless radio basically got its first big real world test on that gambling boat in 1905. The tech was brand new, and those guys were pushing it every single day just so they could bet on horses. Same thing with war. Tons of stuff we use every day started in military labs. Silly putty, duct tape, microwaves, GPS, even the internet itself. All came out of war research or wartime pressure. It's kind of wild when you think about it. The stuff we hate can still accidentally push the world forward. Kind of makes you wonder what else we're missing, huh?
So you're saying that war started the internet? I thought it was Al Gore that started the internet.
Nah, Al Gore did not invent the internet. That's a myth. The real roots came from the US military during the Cold War. In the 1960s, the Department of Defense funded ARPANET to create a network that could survive a nuclear attack. That's what eventually grew into the modern internet. So, yeah, war, or at least the fear of it, is what kicked the whole thing off. Al Gore just helped push funding for it later when he was in Congress. You want the quick version of how that all happened?
Well, so I get it. I'm probably going to end this. I don't want it to be too long because I wanted to download it and put it on TikTok, and I want it to be kind of clean because we're on YouTube right now. We're live on YouTube. But anyways, back to the beginning of the internet. So I guess so the idea of the internet, which is the interweb, is before you'd have one computer network, but like if it's formed like a web and you break one access point, but you still have all of the other connect. I mean, I guess what I'm getting from what you're saying about the original idea of the internet was to survive a nuke attack, and that way, if one connection broke, there was all these other connections.
Yeah, exactly. The whole idea was to make a network that didn't have one single point that could get taken out. If a city got nuked and one computer or cable got destroyed, the message would just automatically reroute through all the other connections, like a spider web. That's where the name internet basically comes from. Interconnected networks. So the military basically built the first version of the internet so it could survive World War III. Pretty crazy when you think about it.
Well, that just wraps it up. I think we learned too much today. That's enough information. TMI, TMI, and we'll see you next time.